Good evening. Guess I'm gonna give a minute to see if anyone acknowledges they're in the chat. While I finish cleaning up the mess I made due to a mess I made due to a mess I made. Oh, probably a couple more iterations of that. Yeah. Well, I have to be careful if when I get to soldering, as I still have isopropyl alcohol on that board. I need to get some higher test isopropyl alcohol so that it will more completely flash off. This 91% is not doing what I want it to do. Oh, a dehumidifier. Ah, there we go. Now I can hear myself think. Well, tonight I had planned on installing these lovely items onto the Zoxbox. Yes, what are these? I'll zoom in a little more. Well, these are some lovely trimmer potentiometers. Have some, should be some 502s. Yep, some 502s, some 503s, and some 504s. Actually, I find it kind of funny that despite the fact that these are all Bourne's brand trimmer resistors from the same series and would theoretically have the same packaging requirements, two of them are wrapped in bubble wrap and one of them is in the little plastic carrier. But I digress. But tonight, I don't know that I will get to installing these because even if I could install them, the Zoxbox is not in a state where I can test. That is because I have made too many mistakes. I'm gonna grab my spare Zoxbox main board so that I can double check that these trimmer resistors actually will fit. So this is the Zoxbox board I haven't used, I wasn't planning on using, and I'm hoping I don't have to fall back to it because that would be a colossal mistake. But these trimmer resistors, okay, well they do fit. It will be a tight fit because they're a bit bigger than I wanted. And it looks like they're going to be, well, they'll be mounted upside down. Actually, no. Oh, I guess I need to add another mistake to my list. Yep. The trimmer potentiometer will fit in TM3, but let's see, TM4. Yeah, it's too big for TM4. And way too big for TM5. Okay, looks like I will be ordering more trimmer resistors. Well, I'd attempted to order single turn ones. these are not going to fit. What's yet another Mauser order? I placed an order with Mauser Friday. That was for these. So, no, actually, I guess it was Thursday. Because I streamed Wednesday. So ordered these Thursday. So I'd have them today. I knew they were possibly too big. But they were what I was able to find. So I'm going to see if I can. I may have to. I'll probably order. I will probably search a different distributor and see if I can get the smaller size, because I was having trouble finding single turn ones that had the right pinout. Because unfortunately, the pinout style is not a search field you can pick. So I will probably check another distributor. So, all right, we'll set that to the side. But that's not the only mistake I've made. Well, granted, the reason I ordered the trimmer resistors is because this one is defective. So, I would have not thought to check it before I installed it, but I should have, because I would have seen it was defective. But well, that wouldn't have. I would have still had to order trimmer resistors. Unfortunately, if I could find this style in 502 and 503, I would be home free, but I don't think this one was stocked anymore, or they were just out of stock with a long lead time one, because I think I did look. So, but that's not the mistakes I made. So anyone watching this, well, I don't know that anyone saw my stream Saturday. I think OBS was telling me I had one viewer. No one admitted to being a viewer in the chat. So I'm not sure if it was actually anyone viewing, or just sometimes I wonder if OBS tells you there's one person watching just so you don't feel bad, because, or they're lurking, I guess. All right. But anyways, so on my stream Saturday, I tried to work on the IO board. Seemed like an innocent thing to do. No desoldering needed. Theoretically, I could accomplish it without destroying anything. Theoretically. Well, yes. All right. So there we go. That's a trace, and then you see a little bit of copper, and then you see where something was. I lifted that trace and half that pad clean off, and actually that trace is actually on the other side, is actually lifted to, actually I think about where that solder break is, and I'm having trouble fixing that. And that damage was caused by me having to unsolder the style wire. Because if you were watching my stream last week, you probably noticed that I had soldered the power wires from the IO board here to the main board, and because I couldn't find wires, and because I wanted to avoid having to desolder temporary power wires, I thought, well, let me just go ahead and solder the wire that the instructions tell you to solder. I didn't see any like notes or warnings or anything, even though back in the back of my mind, I kept thinking, Justin, there's some reason why you ordered these jumper wires that are have the ends pre-crimped on them, and all you have to do is slide these into an appropriately cut size jumper, and then you can solder some header pins. So despite the fact I ignored the warning in the back of my mind, I soldered a piece of this on the board, and well, this stuff is not flexible. And I guess it was during the stream Wednesday I noticed that I had clean separated the one of the power sides. I'd ripped it off, ripped it out of the cable, clean off. So I actually destroyed this board, not soldering, because I soldered the parts quite nicely. I got these resistors and a transistor and a diode, more resistors and capacitors. Soldered all those on fine. It was when I went to desolder, I just royally mangled this board. So not sure I'm going to continue using this IO board. I'm going to fall back to the one I had, this other one. So so that I did not have to try to desolder all these parts off this board, in the event I can repair it. That was actually the Mauser order I placed yesterday, was for all the components that are on this board that I did not have extras of, so that I could build this board up. Because this board should be fine. It's got a few places where I desoldered and it doesn't look pretty, but I haven't lifted any traces on it. So, anyways, I'm gonna use this and build it up and use it as the IO board going forward, because there's actually a couple places I've repaired on this board. I've just given up trying to repair it. I don't know why I'm so awful at desoldering, but, well, the woes don't stop there. Well, also, I guess while I was looking this board over, something caught my eye that was not a welcome sight, and I'll save you from my handheld shaky camera. But I just happened to notice at the marking on this capacitor here, and there's no way you're going to be able to read it. It's 1 microfarad, 100 volt. I was like, 100 volt? I don't remember buying any 100 volt capacitors for this board. I don't think it needs any 100 volt capacitors anywhere. Well, I went back and I looked at the Adafruit assembly, or this is the parts list, and sure enough, it should be 1 microfarad, 50 volt. So I started looking over the board, and well, let's see here. I thought somewhere I saw that I had a 1 microfarad, 50 volt capacitor. Although that would certainly be my luck that where did I see it? It was on one of these boards. I think I saw one. Well, I see 10 microfarad, 50 volt. 10 microfarad, 50 volt. Somewhere I thought I saw a 1 microfarad, 50 volt. I'm like, that's weird. So I went back, I looked at the original Mauser order, and sure enough, I ordered 1 microfarad, 50 volt. So I am going to although I seem to have propagated the error, because there's 1 microfarad, 100 volts, somewhere where I ordered 3. Let's see. Oh, those are 100. Those are not them. 1 microfarad, 100 volts. Well, that is really weird. Anyways, considering that 50 volts was rated higher than I needed. Well, it actually almost looks like. Cause sure enough, I'd ordered 26 1 microfarad 50 volt capacitors, and it looks like I was sent 100-volt ones, which I didn't really want to go up that high because 50 volts already higher than I think these capacitors would see. And well, anyways, I certainly don't have any 50-volt ones. I don't know if Mauser substituted parts when I ordered and I never noticed, or if I got parts mixed up from something else and I've got a bag of 50-volt 1 microfarad capacitors somewhere. But sure enough, and maybe a 1 microfarad capacitor, maybe the ESRs or maybe the voltage rating's not as important as some of the smaller ones. But anyways, there was one other mistake I noticed. This was kind of one I noticed in passing. But it's actually these bulk capacitors that are off the power supply board. So the Adafruit parts list has 16-volt capacitors. That's what's on the parts list. But I believe that because these are after the diode bridge, I believe that there's like 18 volts peak coming out of the diode bridge. I could be wrong, but I'm not sure the 16 volt is the correct rating for those capacitors. So, anyways, that I ordered 100-volt. I ordered. I think I ordered 35-volt caps for these bulk capacitors on the power supply. I wanted 25-volt, but I think I found some 35-volt capacitors that had better ratings. So I ordered those. They were actually, I think, low ripple or something like that. So I'll replace these capacitors on this board, assuming I can desolder them without destroying that board. Um, these are the ones I desoldered off the blue IO board. I did also order 50-volt 1 microfarad capacitors, which hopefully maybe this time I'll actually get 50-volt 1 microfarad capacitors. And I think there were a few other values of these capacitors that for some reason I ordered, or at least I checked values. So, oh yeah. Well, I actually, interestingly enough, I ordered 10 microfarad. There's 63 volts. Yeah, I ordered some more capacitors. I don't know that I need to replace all these electrolytics because I think a lot of them are actually correct. But I ordered capacitors mainly because, well, I needed some to build this board, and I was afraid I'd ordered the wrong things. So yeah. So anyways, I do need to desolder the these two trimmer pots. Although unfortunately, until I get a working trimmer pot, I don't really want to desolder them. Not that they're really useful. I kind of really probably should. Well, I'm also, I guess, seeing. I thought I had a bag of 1 microfarad 50-volt capacitors floating around somewhere, but seeing that I seem to have. Seeing that Mauser seems to have sent me 100-volt ones instead of 50-volt ones, because that's about all I can think of. It does have an invoice number on it. Huh. Weird. Either that or I have. Trying to think. Because I have some more capacitors that I ordered around the same time. And. But there weren't 26 capacitors. Anyways, back on my shelf, I have some Yamaha um, MIDI. I guess they're. I guess MIDI synthesizers. You plug them into your MIDI on your computer, and they output the sounds. There's no keyboard. They're kind of like the Roland MT32 and the but they're Yamaha FB01s, I think. I did recap one of them. I'm kind of hoping I have somewhere I can find the capacitors, and we'll probably recap the other at some point. But the thing is, there's not 26 capacitors for that. I don't know. It's like I'm going to find another bag of 26 capacitors. 'Cause that's actually an oddly specific number because I only needed 13. Surely I did not order. And I ordered 26. This is the other mistake I made. There are when I ordered parts like 3 years ago, how long this has been on the shelf waiting to build. There are some of these parts that I ordered the exact quantity and no extras. And then there's other parts like those electrolytic capacitors that I ordered not 13 but 26 of them. Which I don't know why I doubled the number when I only needed 13. Because if anything, 25 would have been the quantity break. So I have no idea why I doubled some numbers and ordered exact quantities for others, including the 4066 chip, which I believe is right here. I ordered one of them. My Mauser order yesterday includes uh because fortunately I discovered that they had two in stock before back order of next September. And quite honestly, I did not want to have to create the video of, well, I have to pause the build for a year because I destroyed my 4066 by accident. Some of these other ICs I've ordered spares of. Not that one for some reason. I could only find one. But I ordered the two they had. The thing is, they had other 4066s, but not the PDIP in this pinout. I don't know that this pinout seems to be out of fashion. But some of the other SEs, I have like 20 of the PROM EPROMs, or I guess EEPROMs, because I ordered like 10 of two different manufacturers, so I had plenty of them. Okay, well, I guess I only ordered one microcontroller, but that's pretty much the last thing that goes in the board. At that point, I yeah, that I did. I'm not worried about extras. Although that microcontroller is like $8. But actually, I do have a second one, so it's not like I don't have a spare. But I only ordered one. The eBay auction of parts I'd won, where I got some of these transistors, it had one of those microcontrollers in it. I'll probably actually use that microcontroller because it's probably has at least a boot ROM programmed on it, or at least I hope it does. But um, anyways, yeah, I'm kind of a bit leery to desolder things, but I really would like to get the. Because that's kind of one of the. Because if I end up getting 100-volt electrolytics in place of those 50 volts again, then well, I don't want to desolder to just have to give up. I don't know why I was sent 100 volts instead of 50 volts. I know generally you don't want to go too far on with electrolytics, and considering I think really that where those 50-volt ones are, really I don't know why the spec doesn't have like 10 or 16-volt. So 50 volts is already 3 steps above where I would have. Okay, we'll say to 16-volt. Well, 16-volt to 50 volts is already 3 steps. But then 100 volts is 2 more steps. That's like 5 steps above the size I need. And if I had an ESR meter, well, actually, I just thought of I just realized this cheap meter might actually do ESR if you put a capacitor in. After all, it'll do beta if you've got a transistor. Oh, maybe it'll do ESR. Yeah, ESR 1.6 ohms. 1056 nanofarads, which would be 1 microfarad. Oh, that's actually kind of a. Well, actually, I guess that ESR is probably for a 100-volt resistor. That's probably right. I don't have an ESR chart handy. Let me. But for reference, I think I did have some. Let's see. Those are 25-volt. I do have some. Those are 16-volt, 50-volt capacitors here that I haven't soldered yet. Let's see what the ESR one of them is. See, I think it's the. There they are. All right. Actually, here is a. This is the 2.2 microfarad, which is actually a 50-volt capacitor. So I'll. Oh, its ESR is 2.2 ohms. Oh, that's 2.2 ohms. Okay, well, what about these? Here's 10 microfarad 50-volt capacitors. Well, maybe those 1 microfarad capacitors are not 1.8 ohms. Oh, okay. I'll find an ESR chart. All right, well, here's to compare. So Nichicon, these are 63 volt that I ordered as spares. I'm curious what. So these are the next step up from the one I just tested. And 1.4 ohms. Oh, okay. So before I do anything rash and I desolder the 1 microfarad 100 volt capacitors that I have on the board, I will double check that the 50 volt ones aren't like higher ESR or something. So, I mean, if there's 100 volt ones, if the ESR on them is in line with the 50 volt ones, which I guess theoretically they could be, then I won't just brashly go replace them. I promise. It'll just eat at me for as long as I have the Zux box. Was that a trustworthy chart? I have to ask myself. Oh, okay. This is on the EEV blog. Well, okay. Well, it's a picture that's linked on EEV blog. Typical ESR values. Quite honestly, those ESR values are quite dreadful. According to these, my 10 microfarad capacitors have stellar ESR. These must be the ESRs. I can't be reading that right. That just does not. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know that you can trust anything, just anything you found on the internet. All right, I'll have to find an ESR chart from a authoritative source. Which, um, yeah, let's see here. I don't think that's an authoritative source. Looking at the blogspot subdomain, not even going to read it. I don't think I would. I don't want to click on that. I don't know. Maybe I'll. Oh, Alibaba. Yeah. That's probably more likely to be authoritative. But then again, that could be a chart from a seller. It'd be nice if I could find an ESR chart from a capacitor manufacturer. That I might actually trust. Oh, here we go. Yeah, that's helpful. Yes, it is an ESR chart. I wanted stainless steel drawer slides. I might actually be clicking random charts. I think I would be more likely to trust that chart's correct than some of these charts that are on weird websites. Some of which look like they're actually adult blogs on Blogspot, just based on the name. The thing is, some of these are like find the chart from direct from an authoritative source and not just trusting the chart that's been scraped from somewhere else. Is that too much to ask? I'm just going to have to break down and buy an electrical engineering textbook for some of these answers. Or maybe an actual ESR tester that comes with the manual that has a chart in it. Oh, there. Now there's an idea. Why didn't I think of that? All right. Let's see if I can actually find a manufacturer of an ESR meter. Well, there's an article from Nuts and Bolts magazine. Will it have a chart in it? No, haven't found the chart yet, but that's a very nice looking circuit board for this project. It actually looks pretty cool. Setup and calibration, final notes. No chart? What a capacitor really looks like. Huh. No chart. Weird. Midwest Devices. LLC Capacitor Wizard. Order your genuine capacitor wizard today, made in the USA. Oh, I just realized that I clicked on something in OBS and you couldn't see what I was looking at. Well, that's just as well. The graphic search had things that none of the pictures were bad, but the domain names I wouldn't want anyone to. I don't want to legitimize blogs that look like they are not legitimate. Mystery of capacitor ESR exposed. Capacitor Wizard operating manual. Here we go. Maybe this will have an ESR chart in it. Meter reading chart for good ideal caps below 1 microfarad. An ideal capacitor has 0 ohms ESR. So 1 microfarad would be, oh, that's 0.1 microfarad. 15.9 ohms. Oh, okay, here we go. All right, so capacitor types and expected ESR 1 microfarad and up. So electrolytic, greater than 63 volts, good less than 3 ohms. Electrolytic general purpose, good less than 3 ohms. Okay. Well, I would. Okay, well, then maybe the capacitors I ordered are. Maybe those capacitors are fine because it kind of looks like. Electrolytic switching less than 63 volts. Yeah, because those are audio grade. Those Nichicons are. All right, now I'm stumped. I thought these were audio grade capacitors, but according which Well, I guess maybe that falls under electrolytic general purpose. Oh, well, there is one other thing I could think of. I was lamenting that I wanted a chart from the manufacturer. Well, wait a minute. This does not look like the manufacturer. That is not Nichikon's website. I don't think that's Nichikon's website either. I think this is Nichikon's website. Yes. Okay. This, I would believe, is Nichikon's website. Partially because they are a Japanese company. So there's the switch to Japanese button. Yes. And I bet if I view the security certificate, I'm actually going to see that um, verified by DigiCert. Yep. That's what I would expect. View certificate. Okay, I cannot read that, but I am pretty sure that is actually, yeah, nichicon.co.jp. Yes. I'm pretty sure that is actually, yes, the real legitimate website. All right. Product and technology. Let's see here. Can I find, I guess it's going to be under aluminum electrolytic capacitors. Ah, all right. Let me grab one of the bags again. I should probably just give up on putting these in. All right, well, let's just look up the ones that I'm curious about. So these are UKW, is I believe the types, the series. Let's see, those are chip aluminum. Nope. Okay, I think these are miniature type. All right, UKW. High reliability type. I believe that is correct. No, wait a minute. For audio, UKW. Here we go. Standard for audio equipment. All right. Do they have an ESR rating? Well, they have leakage current and ripple. Well, that's weird. Oh, okay. These capacitors are not even in the data sheet. Because I believe these were discontinued. I think, okay, well, I can't look up I'll have to find an older copy of the data sheet, I guess. I knew Nichicon did discontinue some of their audio capacitors, and I guess the 1 microfarad ones are Okay, if anyone could tell me how in the world you turn off this stupid feature of Windows 10, even though I've tried to turn it off, I won't turn it off. I do not like that desktop view. It activates when I don't want it to. So, yeah, I'll mail you a cookie. Might be a slightly used browser cookie, but someone could tell me how you turn that off using the registry. I don't want to install some uh, software that's random. I'm sure there's a registry key to turn it off. I already tried using the local group policy editor and turning off the um, edge swipe, and that didn't do it. I just want to turn it off. I don't like it because my trackpad. Well, I know one way to turn it off. I just get a keyboard that has an actual separate mouse, but then I can't swipe a trackpad. But well, that's a brash way of fixing it. Okay, they do not have a... Okay, so I cannot get what I wanted here. Well, I doubt the catalog is going to help. I guess I could look at the technical notes. Maybe there's an ESR chart in here. Oh, cool. Dielectric aluminum oxide layer. A high purity etched aluminum foil is anodized in a boric acid ammonium water type solution for X sample. Oops, typo. To form an aluminum oxide film on its surface. This aluminum oxide film is what we call the dielectric of the aluminum electrolytic capacitor. The DC voltage that is applied to the foil to oxidize the anode foil is called forming voltage. Yeah, fun stuff here. Ooh, chemistry! The fabrication reaction of the dielectric can be expressed as follows. 2 aluminum plus 3 water forms Al2O3. I believe that is going to be an aluminum oxide plus 3H2. That is going to be hydrogen. And looks like it's going to emit plus or lose 3 electrons. Ooh. Interesting. All right. Oh, well, there's kind of how they make the capacitor. Oil, electrolytic paper, the leads, they kind of roll it. Wow, this is actually an interesting technical specification. Capacitance. Let's see here. Fun. More formulas. Equivalent series resistance, dissipation factor, and impedance. Let's see here. So that looks like well, that's not quite what I was looking for. Leakage current, temperature characteristics, the frequency and ESR. Still not what I'm looking for. No. Application guidelines. Ooh. Capacitors may fail if they are used under the following conditions. Yes. Yes, I believe I would also fail if I was in an atmosphere filled with toxic gases, such as hydrogen sulfides, sulfurous acid, nitrous acid, chlorine, bromine, methyl bromide, ammonia, etc. Yeah, I would dislike those environments as well as the capacitor. Yes. All right. Storage, disposal, failure modes. I was kind of hoping there would be a. And I'm looking for the ESR chart when you to know it's a good capacitor, or at least to kind of see the how they rate their various voltage ratings in terms of ESR. Oh, oh, oh. Nope, I do not believe this document has the charts I'm looking for. Ah, all right. Although that is quite an interesting document. I guess if you want to read everything that you've ever dreamed of and more about capacitors, and that was the technical notes from Nichikon's website. But that's not what I was looking for. Partial match. It's parts. Huh. I really want an ESR chart. ESR chart. No, I'm not going to download a random Google Drive file. All right. Well, I think let's see what the EEV blog says. Okay, according to the people replying to that forum post, I don't know that any of those charts are helpful. This article has multiple issues. Yeah. I have multiple issues too. Just want an ESR chart from an authoritative source. Wikipedia is not an authoritative source. Nichicon has the ESR chart I'm looking for. It's buried on their website. All right. Well, I think I am going to take a break here because I believe I need to check to see if there's a couple YouTube streamers that my audience also watches, and think I may now be trying to stream to people that are not going to be watching because they're probably tuned into another stream. So I'm going to take a break here just to see if by chance I am going to be streaming to dead air, and I'll be back in a few moments. And I'm back. And the good news is I'm not trying to stream over top of anything. The bad news is apparently YouTube and Twitch have been throwing a fit over my stream settings. And YouTube is even complaining about my audio bitrate. So I am going to end the stream so I can attempt to fix the settings. And if I can manage to fix them, I will start a new stream. Because I have a feeling it's going to take me longer to fix them than YouTube will let the stream go idle before it stops it. So just stay tuned to my channel. I'm hoping to be back in a couple minutes, but I need to fix the stream settings because YouTube is really throwing a fit over them. So I hope to be back on